We're back. Welcome back to the Square. I'm your host, Curtis the Fifth.
And I'm Curtis the Fourth.
Super Bowl is upon us. 2 days away. Today is Friday, the 11th. Super Bowl is 2 days away. Can't wait. I know you're still reeling, but it's fine.
Oh, me?
Yeah. We're gonna get down to business. We're gonna go through our news and all that stuff, and then we'll preview the Super Bowl. Shouldn't be too long today, but there is some news to get to, so we'll dive right on in. As always, we talk about the injury report first, and I'm gonna get all the nasty business and all the bad news out of the way first, and then we'll get to the good stuff, and we'll end on a cheery note this episode.
All right.
Let's start with the injury report. LA Rams, Tyler Higbee, not looking good. It looks like he's not going to be able to return for the Super Bowl. So,
shocking.
Yeah, that knee injury was a little bit more gruesome than CJ Uzomah's, which we'll get to in a second here. But bright spot for the Rams. Looks like they potentially, as Sean McVay said, there's a good chance to return for the Super Bowl for Darrell Henderson with his knee injury. So hopefully they can pull him off of IR and bring him back. No update on that as of Friday, so we'll see what happens Saturday as they go through their final walkthroughs and whatnot, and see if they can pull him off that injured reserve list and get him onto the active roster here. And then for the other side of the ball, Cincinnati tight end CJ Uzomah, again, his knee injury, not as serious as Tyler Higbee's. It's looking like, he's returned to practice on Thursday, so it was a limited capacity, but he did return to practice, so Uzomah is more than likely back, ready to play football on Sunday.
Do you get the impression that anytime that they even bring up this whole Uzomah situation, that it almost comes in, to me, it comes in this narrative as if he's the missing piece to the puzzle.
I do see people talking about it like that. I don't see it that way. I do think that not that he's an integral piece, but I do think he brings something to that offense. It's a check down type thing to bail out Joe Burrow.
That's not in question.
Yeah.
What's in question is they act like the success of the Bengals fell strictly on Uzomah's ability to play and his availability on the field. And
that's not the case.
If anybody was following fantasy, this guy has been more out than in. He had like 3 games.
Yeah.
And I guess he had one toward the end of the year. And, of course, with their success, and they just lumped it all together. And, hey, now he goes down. Oh, my God, what are we going to do without this? What are you talking about? Hell, obviously it didn't mean anything for Kansas City. But
he's a good guy. If you watched him all season, he is a good guy on third down for Joe Burrow. When things fall apart, because we've seen that offensive line, it is putrid. When things fall apart, he does like to find his check down, whether that's Joe Mixon sitting out in the flat or dump that ball off to Uzomah just sitting wide open in the middle of the field. And he's a big body. That's the thing. Like he is like just a massive target.
Yeah.
Where it's just like Joe Burrow can just be like, okay, there's a white jersey, just get it over there to him.
That's true.
So that's kind of what I look at it as.
I just want people to be fair and all this, recency bias and stuff. And it's like, let's be real, man. Uzomah is not, like you said, he's not an integral part of the offense. He can be this check down option, not even a number 1 option. Like you said, it does go to a Joe Mixon, Sample, or P. Ryan, Chris Evans, it's the odd guys.
Yeah.
And so his going down and they just going,
when he scores a touchdown, it's the same reaction that I give when Samaje P. Ryan scores a touchdown. It's just like, what are you doing with the ball? Like, come on, man.
It's Haley's comic,
just out here vulturing touchdowns.
Right, exactly. It is what it is. I
think it is going to be big for this game specifically for him to come back, because I do believe Joe Burrow is going to need a check down this game with the 3 pass rushers that they have in Leonard Floyd, Aaron Donald, and Von Miller. They're going to need a check down guy. So if Uzomah can play, that's going to be another option for Joe Burrow to be fail safe. Let me get the ball out of my hand so I'm not taking sacks type of a deal. But I think Joe Burrow is going to be under a lot of pressure. But we'll get to that in our preview show. So
okay, keep it moving.
Yeah. Let's get to some headlines. Let's get the nasty ones out of the way. Like I said, the NFL continues to have legal issues. I'm just going to get this out of the way. Let's start with the diversity head coaching issue. I'm not trying to say that to sweep it under the rug. It's just what I said last week came true. Outside of the little updates here or there and a couple of press conferences that Roger Goodell had to do, it has been a non-story this week that we went into this hiring cycle this year with 5 minority head coaches, and we came out of this hiring cycle with 5 minority head coaches. That story is outside of the sort of the 2 press conferences that Roger Goodell's had to do. We have not talked about it at all this week. It has not been a story at all this week, and it's been really, really frustrating.
Between the Pro Bowl, Super Week,
don't start with me.
Hirings and firings, and it got buried.
Yeah,
literally.
Commissioner Goodell came out and basically in his first press conference of Super Week went ahead and said that they fell short of their diversity coaching hiring goals, and he put out a memo saying that it was, quote, unacceptable when he sent that to all 32 NFL owners. And it's like, all right, so about 10th time you sent that memo, Goodell. Where's the change coming? Like that memo really is going to change the policies here. Like that memo is really going to change the fact that there's still only 5 minority head coaches.
Uncle,
2 got fired unjustly, by the way.
Like your uncle just giving you a stern talk or something in the corner. Like, let me have a conversation with you real quick about which.
It's not even that. It's it's like the stepdad who got reamed out by the mom saying like you gotta get after him. You gotta say something to him, and he goes in the corner and like very gently slaps him on the wrist and gives him that stern finger point right in his face. Yeah, and the whole time he's like, I'm just doing this so she doesn't beat me when I get back. Wow. That's what it seemed like to me.
Whatever. I think it's very similar to what we were both saying, the same thing, different scenarios. With that being said, the point being is it has been, the discipline has been a joke. The addressing of the situation has been another.
You want to talk about a joke? It's the second press conference. This line specifically, I took this and I just copy pasted it verbatim from the record. This is what pissed me off. Goodell states, quote, "We need to continue to step back and say we're not doing a good enough job here." This is exactly what I said. Why are we just talking about the fact that we're not doing a good enough job? Action is what I've been saying. Let's change something here. Let's do something. Stop saying we need to continue to step back and say. You've been saying it for 10 damn years.
Like the kid that broke the vase, and then as soon as he breaks it, he goes to the parents and let them know he broke the vase. But he has a whole line, just a whole slew, a whole script of his apology already ready to go. Mm-hmm. Ready to, I'm going to self-police myself. I'm going to punish myself. I don't want dinner tonight. I'm just going to go to bed and not have dinner, and I'll stay in my room. I won't look at my electronics, and then and that should pretty much take care of it. This,
you know what? You've given me a perfect segue.
Go ahead. I don't even need to go any further. Just go ahead. Go.
You want to talk about self-policing? Let's talk about the Washington Commanders and the other legal issue the NFL has going on right now. Oh,
the other buried story?
Yeah. My goodness. I and this is why I put it first in my headlines, in my notes over here, because I was not letting this get buried.
I don't want to get buried in this show. Let's just start
let's get it out of the way, because this is insane. So we talked about it last week. The NFL and the Washington Football Organization, Washington Commanders organization.
I'm thinking Commandos. See, it's too new. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
They had to go to a congressional roundtable committee, basically behind closed door, all hush hush like, because this story can't get out. But it was in regards to the Washington Commanders' sexual harassment allegations that they've been dealing with for their entire existence. And so a new investigation needs to be opened up now. So apparently the congressional committee was just like, what the hell is this? Mm-hmm. And Tiffany Johnston is the newest accuser. And she has come out and said that she has multiple sexual harassment claims, some stuff with a dinner where Daniel Snyder started grabbing her leg while she was had to sit next to him for the dinner, and then he tried to coerce her into a limo. A lot of messed up stuff happening there.
Mm-hmm.
But all this information comes out about their committee hearing and what she said to Congress and how unacceptable it was and how violated she felt in that moment. And not that just that moment. It's been over her course of her entire career with the Washington organization. And really oddly, Daniel Snyder's lawyers came out and stated that, we are going to be in hiring an outside firm so that they can do an investigation into Tiffany Johnston's claims here, and we'll make sure that we get down to the root cause of the issue here. And weirdly, they didn't want to hire. They listed 2 firms that they have already put out bids to come investigate this claim. They didn't want to hire the person who did the last one, where, funny enough, we find out here, I stated it last week, it was a very footnote type thing, where the NFL had actually pulled the firm that did the last sexual harassment investigation into the Washington football team, at the time, rather. They basically pulled this firm to the side and said, hey, we know because the Commanders actually requested that there was a written record of that investigation.
Mm-hmm.
The NFL pulled them to the side and said, hey, nix that. We're doing this all verbally. We don't want anything on the record. We don't want any written record of any of this. So, like I said, cover up, obviously.
Right.
And funny enough, Washington did not want to rehire. They never even brought up the name of that firm again. And it's like, okay, that's really weird, because if they didn't find anything too egregious, as you've stated, and in the way that you run your business here, they've already got their foot in the door with you. They've already interviewed quite a few people in your organization.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't have too much damning evidence, why would you not rehire that same firm? But also, NFL, why are they hiring the same firm? I guess the NFL had the same question, because the NFL and Roger Goodell quickly, after that quick response by Daniel Snyder's lawyers, whole confusion whirlwind in a matter of that same night, Roger Goodell comes out and says, no, Washington, you are not doing your own investigation. And here's the line that really confuses me, Mr. Goodell. You say that you can't really see how a team can investigate these types of claims themselves. Then why the hell were they able to hire the first investigative team in the first place? What are we talking about here? What type do you think that we're that dumb? What are we? How is this stuff being allowed to happen?
Yeah, in today's society, and which is the sad part is, I mean, and I'm saying this as I regressed on sports in general, but football has been one of the holdovers for me, and the legal side of football has just been absolute joke. The game, yes, but it comes with another caveat. Now, I'm not going to really get into all of that, but even the validity of these games at this point, it's in question.
Oh, yeah.
So I watch this stuff trying not to think like that, which is basically I'm starting to watch football the way I watch basketball, and it's problematic right now. So
I've been seeing myself trying to create a fissure between the NFL organization itself and what's happening on the field. And I'm still able to enjoy the product that is being put on the field.
But that gap is starting to it's contracting, and it's like, oh my god, this is a few more years of this, and I don't even know where I'm gonna be on it.
It's insane. So the NFL, no, you're fine. The NFL says that they are going to bring after they made that Roger Goodell said that stupid statement. That statement alone just really made me like, you need to be fired, Goodell. But
in light of, and I'm gonna say, in light of, I'm just gonna jump. I just want to just infuse this solution that will let's begin to correct all of this. and I understand, like we were talking about the coaching, the hiring, and all this, Rooney Rule, and this, so on and so forth. Bottom line, Rooney Rule or not, you know what? The commissioner, they need a new commissioner. It needs to be a person of color. I'm sorry, because for one, if you promoting diversity, we need to diversify out Caucasian head
I'll do you one better.
It's just
it needs to be an African American female.
I was gonna go there. We can go gender as well.
Yeah,
it's at the point. It's so toxic, so contaminated, so. I mean, they're so stuck in the past.
I'm so confused
there's
so much evidence.
We have to move on.
Well, like let's just take this Washington Commanders situation for example. Why is the NFL so hell-bent on protecting Daniel Snyder? I understand he is one of the 32 NFL owners. He he is the majority stakeholder, and you guys just allowed him to buy out the rest of the shareholders because you're thinking that it's time to fire him. Because he shouldn't. The NFL has basically told us, hey, we don't think that he should be an owner anymore. You, as a body of 31 other owners, have basically said, allowing him to buy out the rest of those guys, basically have told the entire world, yeah, he should sell the team. Like this is at this point. It's easier to sell the team when you have all stakes of the organization. He should not be here anymore. That was 2 years ago. Why are we still here? Let him go litigate the rest of this stuff on his own with all of the money that he receives from selling the team. Let him go get the best lawyers that he can possibly can to go defend himself in civil and, by the way, criminal court.
Yeah,
because this man at this point has so many allegations against him. It's more than Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, and you don't get not a one headline, not a one. Did you see anything in the ticker ever say with Dan Snyder's name? Yeah,
you never will. So that happens, and like I said, Roger Goodell comes out with that asinine statement, and then he follows it up saying that they will be hiring from an outside firm themselves. The NFL will be doing the investigation. Now, to that I say, I don't care. You basically have decided to litigate this with Washington. The NFL and Washington are now litigating it together. So that I really don't see as really too big of a change. But if they do, this would give me at least some hope that the NFL is truly trying to do, let's not say the right thing, but do what needs to be done. If they go hire that original firm, that then will tell me that they are actually seeking the truth out of Washington, not just trying to get bare minimum information to move on and sweep this under the rug.
Right.
But on top of that, the NFL has kind of done a little bit of a 180 because now they are claiming that it wasn't the NFL who blocked the information from that first report coming out. They also have stated that it was the Washington Commander organization themselves who blocked the documents, the thousands of documents from coming out from both the original investigation and, on top of that, the those documents from this last committee hearing. So I think that's the NFL trying to distance themselves a little bit and saying that, hey, they did it, not us. Like that is that organization, and that's kind of how the NFL kind of gets away with a lot of the BS that they allow, is by saying it's not us. It's like these are 32 individual businesses. We just oversee it, type of thing. It's like, well, then they're a part of your organization.
Okay. No, this is just complete bullshit. BS. Okay, because you all are all the governing bodies that make the NFL. So with that being said, rules are being ignored. We're turning the other way, turning a blind eye to obviously what's happening. Let's just bury the story over time, and let's just we're running our process. We're running, they're doing an investigation, whatever the hell that's supposed to mean. And then these findings come out, which are they haven't found anything. And how do you not find anything?
Well, they covered up the findings of the last investigation.
But had this been on the player side,
yeah,
this is like what I mean. 4 to 8 days total run time between all this getting settled and being done with, and you know, I've heard enough. I mean, I hope. I mean, if you got more details, go by all means go. But
No, that was it.
this story is this is what I'm talking. I'll say it again. The NFL, I'm having a very hard time.
Yeah.
With the NFL as an organization, because the NFL does not uphold its bylaws, its rules, its regulations. It only holds up the shield, and the shield is to protect the business, and that's that.
No, not the business. They don't care about the business. The shield is there to protect the 32 owners. They don't give a damn about anything else.
What do you think the owner? That's the business. That's all. I know what you're saying, but this semantics. But
Yeah.
The business of just running and the business of making money. That's what. However, by any
hook or by
means,
crook.
by hook or by crook, it does not matter. And we have seen it probably in the last decade, just numerous times, over and over, of just buried story after buried story, or and every now and again a player becomes the poster child for a topic or a subject, and then we just move on, where the owners don't even dare I even say, don't even really even get a slap on the wrist. It's just been
how can Roger Goodell
get a good
slap on the wrist his boss? One of his 32 bosses. How is he going to reprimand the people that pay him? Where in any business structure has that ever made sense?
And that's the whole point. The business structure doesn't make sense. It's like he can't answer to you all if it's because okay, this is what it comes out. And I'm gonna leave it alone because the question would be in hand. This is rhetorical. Who the hell does the owners answer to? And they don't tell me themselves. That bullshit. They, that's the man. That's not answering to anybody. Then, and that is exactly
Daniel Snyder
what
can answer it for you. He answers to nobody. He does exactly what the hell he wants to do, and he thinks he's going to get away with it.
That's what I'm saying. It's governing by, we say 32 owners. However, I'm sure that there's an inner circle of maybe 5 that they're the movers and the shakers. They're doing all
2: Robert Kraft and Jerry Jones.
I was gonna say Jerry Jones and 4 other guys. I don't even know who else is there. I know Jerry Jones is in there. But with that being said, it's a good old boys club.
Yeah,
and I have to say it like that, whether we want to call, the NFL is misogynistic, it's sexist, it's racist, it's all of these things. And yeah, it's exciting and it's this, but that's the game and the players. I'm talking about from
the business itself
and the business,
is horrible.
It is as toxic as toxic can be. And as you can see, it's just this Washington thing should damn near had the damn NFL as an entity almost suspended. I know we never heard that's unheard of in a world and in this type of world today, and with all of this capital going around. And I'm like, that's the damn problem. That all of that has become more important than anything else, and nothing else matters. So we talking Black lives, blue lives, any lives, nothing matters but the almighty dollar here. And yeah, and I ain't even gonna do the whole NFL got to do better. The NFL, this is just
no. The NFL will tell you that they have to do better, and then they'll do nothing.
Exactly. So it's just a toxic situation that is just continue to birth yet another chapter. And yeah. So that's unfortunate, and I don't see anything changing anytime soon. So I mean, we'll see, and I'll just see as a fan. I'm gonna try to hang in there, but it's getting rougher. I'm just gonna say it's been getting really rough over the years.
I think 2 things need to happen. Denver's up for sale. There should be some sort of. There's got to be a way that they can only sell it to a majority African American owner, and
there should be some rule. It should be at least a 1/3 ownership.
Yeah, and then also. That is one rule that I think should be put in place. The ownership, as some of these guys begin to
representation.
Yeah, as some of these other owners are beginning to step down, they need to start planning on selling it to an African American owner. But same thing with Washington. Those should be the next 2. That obviously Denver is already up for sale, needs to go to an African American owner, and Washington also needs to go to an African American owner. Obviously, they need to put up the capital that the team is rightfully worth, but still, because one of the rules is that it actually has to end up getting approved. Your bid has to be approved by the other owners, regardless of how much money you put forth. Like, that's just to get your foot into the door as a franchise. It's like a franchise fee,
right?
And it's just like, okay, well, you need to accept that from an African American majority owner, because at this point we've got one minority owner in general, and that's American Pakistani Shad Khan in Jacksonville. Everybody else is white majority owner. Gotcha. There are a few teams that are broken up percentage-wise, and a few African Americans do own some stakes into teams, but they don't have anywhere near enough influence to actually do anything major with that team.
True.
There's, I think, maybe 3 or 4 other African Americans might even have like voting rights on their boards. So it's insane.
Gotcha.
But those 2 things need to happen. Washington needs to be sold to an African American owner. Denver needs to be sold to an African American owner.
Philly start there.
And Daniel Snyder needs to go to jail. Now, talking about jail, New Orleans running back Alvin Kamara was arrested literally mere minutes after the Pro Bowl. He was playing in the Pro Bowl with an active warrant.
Wow. And where was the Pro Bowl?
Pro Bowl was in Vegas, and apparently the night before, there is apparently video of Alvin Kamara beating the piss out of this dude, and he's in the hospital, and I believe he was in a coma.
Oh, he's gonna get
paid. Yeah.
Nice.
But the police said that they have video evidence of the altercation. They arrested him immediately after, and I don't know.
Nothing else has come from that.
Yeah, it's literally that. Those are the 2 pieces of information. Yeah. Alvin Kamara was arrested after the Pro Bowl on battery charges, and that the police say that they have basically rock solid evidence of Alvin Kamara assaulting this man.
I'm gonna assume that this story is going to come back a couple days after the Super Bowl. Like, I think they just kind of put this on the back burner until after the big game. So I don't think this is going away, but and this is fine. I don't, this is, incident happens. NFL has to deal with it. That's all fine. But in light of all of what we already just talked about, I'm just like, well, this is moving on. That doesn't speak to the victim. I didn't see the tape.
No, nobody has. It hasn't been released.
I'm just saying this. There is obviously a huge issue and problem that has stirred up and has been boiling over in the NFL. Player side, owner side, business side. There is a lot of issues coming out of the franchise entity business called the NFL. It's just
my thing is that I think this is what everybody's fear was with having a franchise in Vegas. All year, we've been talking about criminal activity in Vegas from NFL players.
True. But the question is it because it's Vegas? Because they didn't... I don't think the players just all of a sudden slipped up this year. And now, I just can't stop.
That is very true.
I can't stop myself in Vegas. I don't know what happened to me. I don't know what came over me.
I agree. I don't want to blame Vegas as city.
It's almost like, this is what I'm saying. It's like they choose to want to talk about it because it's in Vegas. But if it's in Los Angeles, every now and again, Joe Johnson got stopped for a DWI. He was going like 117, but his legal limit was twice the, and then 2 days later, we never hear about it again. He came back from suspension. I didn't even know he was suspended. It'd be stuff. This is just more of the same, which is like, again, I don't expect to hear anything until at least next week.
I don't think we're going to see
it comes back out at all.
Yeah, because I think the man has to wake up to say if he wants to follow through with the charges or not. And
but then you got beneficiaries and you got, power of attorneys and, people who could speak for the man if he doesn't come. It's just like, I don't know. Bottom line, I ain't got no shares in Alvin Kamara fantasy wise. And so with that being said, it's kind of like, it's another horrible story.
We won't know until later. Like, there's got to be way more information that comes out. And
all I'm saying is just more of the same. And yet we're just reporting it. The country should be screaming for what is next.
Yeah.
What, demanding some type of accountability. No, I ain't gonna say something. Demanding accountability. Because you know what? We've been getting some type for so long, and it has been nothing. So I'm done with some type.
Say some type.
No, they need accountability.
Yeah.
True accountability. What does it look like? It looks like accountability.
Yeah.
Don't believe it at that. It's nothing that we've seen ever in the NFL.
You are killing it with giving me these segues because you want to talk about accountability. Let's go right back to the NFL as an entity again, because another story comes out, and this one got swept right under the rug as Tom Brady retires. The NFL releases more information on Deflategate.
I heard a footnote. Go ahead. Please finish.
So what?
I didn't hear this whole story, but go ahead.
Basically, what happened is that obviously, I think it was 3 out of the 6 balls that New England had in that AFC Championship game where they beat the dog piss out of Indianapolis. By the way, I think they scored 5 rushing touchdowns. Most of those touchdowns weren't passing. And so that's where an underinflated football would even come into. Regardless, Deflategate was a sham and proven by the NFL this past week, because 3 out of the 6 NFL balls from New England side were underinflated. More information was released, and we heard this a couple years ago. It was relatively the same. I think it was 1 out of the 6 for Indianapolis was underinflated as well. But then they released the metrics that they actually had records of the underinflated, overinflated, properly inflated footballs all season long. They were tracking that, and they went back and they looked at all season long, going up until that game. Those numbers were spot on with what they were in that game. New England didn't do anything differently or anything wrong in that game. It just so happened that they tested these balls and for some extra reason. And they were just like, nope, yep, they cheated. And I mean, hindsight being you go into the next season where they suspended Tom Brady, and it's like, you suspended Tom Brady for 4 games for no reason. You created a monster that year.
There was a reason.
They created a monster that year, and he came out pissed.
Remember what he did with that phone?
Yeah, he smashed the mess
So just stop. So stop. Okay, outside of the phone, he did nothing, but he did the phone thing. So I'm just saying, I don't know what he did. I don't know what was on the phone. Obviously, it was nothing according to Tom Brady. Tom, not a good look.
It's really not. But this is not a good look for the NFL, because it's like, dude, you had all of this information. You were you again swept another thing under the rug where you knew what the real situation was, and you did not care. You were just looking at PR, and you said, nope, they did it. They got to be punished for it. And for
this
what?
Is what I mean.
Just tell the truth.
Now and again, the NFL wants to take a player and make them the fall guy.
Oh my God.
But there's no accountability from management or the business side. There's never any accountability.
Like, how are you going to go back and reprimand Goodell or the rest of the NFL?
It's easy, but because these entities, sports entities, they make it a point not to make it a rule, where you can forfeit games, you can forfeit salaries, you can be fired on the spot, you can be. It's all of this red tape, and that we have to go through because they're trying to protect the image, and well, it doesn't look really bad unless we say it looks really bad.
Yeah,
and, Ray Rice. They made Ray Rice look like he was the scum of the planet, and all so on and so. And look, I don't have issues with domestic violence. I don't have a place or a soapbox where I'm going to oppose domestic violence. But can we just break this down really quickly? He got in a dispute with his girlfriend at the time. Was he in the wrong for hitting her? Of course. Anybody who hits anybody in public in today's world, that's against the law. This is not 40, 50 years ago where it's kind of frowned upon, but that's kind of how it was. It was kind of frowned upon, but
I don't think it was frowned upon back then. They were doing it out in the open. 40, 50 years ago. I'm not talking about today.
Depending on the culture. That's what
Well, you go a little bit further south. I mean, up here in Minnesota, probably.
Right. That's what I'm trying to say. It was just one of those kind of,
I guess 50-50.
Right.
You split the country.
It can happen, but with some discussion, whatever.
Gotcha.
Now it's just, it's completely no, not allowed. Where was I going with this? Goodness.
I don't know. Sorry.
You jumped in there. Man.
Distracted you.
You distracted me. So, wow. Let's move on.
Regardless,
it'll come back. It'll come back.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just lost my train of thought.
I just think that the NFL, they at this point, you got to get back to they need to change the structure because false allegations with Deflategate, Alvin Kamara situation, Washington football team situation, and obviously diversity and racial issues have been a topic of conversation since 2016. It should have been a topic of conversation for much longer, but it really got highlighted by Colin Kaepernick.
Exactly, and there need to be new rules, completely new rules in the entire league.
But here's the thing:
hear me out. I'm talking about as far as execution of discipline, definitely. And if there are broken rules, there need to be some very clear and concise, repercussions that come behind that. Not this gray.
It's up for an interpretation.
Well, we find a multi-millionaire $2,000. What the hell? That if I got paid and I got a nice, I got paid, I got a nice job, and then all of a sudden, man, I had to go run up in the corner store really quick, but I got to go in here 5 minutes, grab this one thing, come out, and then I'm getting a ticket. That's $20. Mm-hmm. What's it to me if I'm sitting there with $3,000 in the bank? What is $20? This fining nonsense. And, I'm just saying, clear, concise repercussions, not this slap on the wrist and just because it's dollars and we try to go into the narrative. That's what all these players really care about. Well, a lot of them do. But with that being said, what the hell? Fining is not. That's just another way for the NFL to tax its own employees and put the money right back into the owner's pockets. They don't care what they're doing, obviously, because they're doing more egregious things than even the players in a lot of cases. And I have an issue with their rules and their interpretation of the rules and their structure as to how they get executed, because there needs to be a governing body that's above everybody that's attached to the NFL. An entity that's connected, but is not nowhere nearly as a part or as joint with the players or the owners as we see from the owners to the players relations. That it needs to be something where they are both equally put under the same rule, and that's something that, like I was saying, all of these entities, NBA, NHL, MLB, none of them have this in place, basically because it's going to hurt their bottom line. Which, as a fan, do I get so up when I'm always constantly being reminded it's all about the dollars first?
Yeah. Time
and time again. And then I have to watch this with my children, grown kids, but but trying to explain that and trying to explain how the business has changed or not explaining as to why you never see me really watch a whole lot of sports when I was I lot of stuff was happening over the last 20 years, and just these sports leagues have changed drastically, and and everything is bigger, better, faster, grander, come on, taking the Super Bowl come Sunday. You're going to see every theatrical thing starting at 9 a.m. to almost 10 o'clock. From 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., you would have seen 2 concerts. You would have gotten every backstory on Cincinnati, the city, as well as Los Angeles, the Rams history in St. Louis, back in L.A., 2 tours, so on and so forth. Concerts, whatever, challenge, some type of goofy challenge and games.
You got the puppy bowl always.
That before you know it, by 5 o'clock, you have had your fill all day of just sports related, super week, everything and anything that comes with that. This reporter, that reporter, this show, that show.
I keep everything off on Super Sunday until about 1 o'clock.
And then finally, there's a game. The game is just kind of. the Super Bowl has the game in the Super Bowl, the
Yeah.
actual football game has taken such a back door over the last 20 years. It is about everything else because there is money to be made, and that's the only point I was making. That it is just they taking this one event and have just multiplied it by 100 for everything and everybody else, and I'm always left around about 7 o'clock in the evening on Super Bowl Sunday, like. And it usually happens around about halftime because then you got this huge halftime show, which is another concert, by the way. And by that point, I'm sitting there like, wow, by the way, there's a game being played here.
Yeah.
It takes such a back door until maybe the fourth quarter, depending on how the game played out.
Yeah.
But I'm just seeing the way the direction of sports and all of this just drive for capital and these sham for rules and regulations, and while we're over here talking about all these problems that's happening specifically now in the NFL, the NFL has created the problems in the NFL, not the players. The players, these conditions are already existing when these players, rookies, come into this league, get their, NFL. What is it? What is the orientation that they call it? The symposium. The NFL,
I don't know.
I'm talking about for the rookies. It's like a symposium. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because whatever their orientation of the rookies are, and they give them all this BS about basically telling them about this fictitious league that they're going to join and all these governing things that happen. And it never happens.
Which is funny because Pat McAfee talks about that basically, like you said, orientation that happens, and when it comes to when they get to finally step foot in the door with the Players Association is just like, sit down, shut up. You have to bide your time until you get to your second contract. Even if you get there, and it's really this thing that it's just like, you come in here, you keep your head down. You're here to play football. You're here to do nothing else but that. Your life is only that, and we don't care about anything else because we're the vets. We're trying to get our money. We've fought for your rookie contracts, and you play on those, and you shut up, and you accept that. It's just like, okay, well, I thought we were an associate. Like, I thought we were together. I thought we were all in this together.
No, and it works
because I'm saying it's not just
right.
it's not just the NFL entity. It's the Players Association as well. That's toxic and effed up too.
It all falls under the NFL umbrella, and that's my point.
But back to your rule about the rules themselves. Sorry, back to your point about the rules themselves. Yes. The issue that I have, racially, anyways, the issue that I have with it is like the fact that we need a Rooney Rule that obviously is broken and doesn't work clearly, but the fact that we need one is the problem, and that's what I was saying, that the structure is broken because why we wouldn't need that if we fix the structure. We don't need a Rooney Rule then. Because then it's about, okay, who is the best man for the job? It's not about, oh, I have to fulfill this obligation, and what it is now, checking a box saying, okay, we've talked to our resident black guy, and we can move on now,
right? And
we can sweep it under the rug, like, okay, yeah, we got it. I mean, how effed up was the situation for Brian Flores? Like that, I as somebody who has been hunting for jobs desperately before. To get a text like that for something that important from Bill Belichick saying like, oh yeah, Daboll's got it in the bag, it's already done. And it's like, wait a minute, I haven't interviewed yet. And they don't even have anybody on the list who's black. So I thought I was actually getting a real shot here.
Better yet, how did he even know?
That's another thing.
I know it ain't been stated much. I know I understand it's Belichick, but is Belichick supposed to know everything that's going on in the NFL?
Belichick is the omniscient being in the NFL. He knows everything.
Not something that's supposed to happen for a head coach. Not even in this job.
Yeah, well, he also is a GM. Keep that in mind. He has two roles in the New England.
So all GMs know what's going on?
Everything. They know everything that's happening when you're that smart like Belichick.
Wow.
I am being facetious.
I know what you're doing. It's another thing that is, I don't want to think that I'm the first person who just finally said that right this moment about him in regards to him since we heard that. However, on the airwaves, radio, TV, I haven't heard anybody mention it. It's just been this came out, and and it's this jokingly, and it was Belichick. Okay, what is that supposed to mean? Okay, it was Belichick, and
what does Belichick have to do with the New York Giants organization?
Exactly. That's what I wanted to know. I'm like, how do you know about a New York Giants job going to someone else? Wow, and then the whole situation is like every story we have just talked about.
Yeah,
they're all effed up, and it is a very consistent revenue of just nonsense that's going on in the NFL specifically, and it keeps coming out, and they continuously keep throwing up that shield to try to deflect it, and it's and just basically we're just going to do what we want to do and ignore it and move on like we always do. And what can you all do? We all have no power to stop us. We can stop watching it, but I'm like, damn, is that what it's going to come down to? We just got to stop watching y'all to shut you down because you.
And
all
that's not
going to
stop anything anyway, because you've got the people who just don't care.
I get that's what I'm saying. But that's what it literally would have to take.
Yeah.
That we just have to, as viewers, we have to just divest ourselves outside of the league all itself.
I think at this point
it won't necessarily happen. But
here's the issue. I think it's going to take, because if there wasn't a congressional committee, nothing would have happened with the Washington Commander situation. They would have swept that first investigation under the rug, and this Tiffany Johnston thing would have never happened. And we would not be talking about it today. And that's exactly what the NFL would have wanted.
Right.
And so unfortunately, I think it's going to, for the NFL to do anything, they're going to have the U.S. government step in and do something about it. They are going to have to put the pressure on the NFL because they're the ones who keep giving them exemptions for antitrust laws.
And that's what I mean about they need to go back, and there needs to be a new established governing body of rules. That's established for both entities of this business that makes the NFL. Because right now,
there's going to be an uproar because this is supposed to be free enterprise.
I understand that, but
this is supposed to be capitalism.
Yeah, but yet there are taxes in it. What the hell is that?
But also, I thought, what happened to fair market value? We want to talk about one side of it, but not the second side of capitalism.
I'm just saying. They lost me when they were taxes. I'm like, how the hell you pay no taxes?
Well, they're I don't know if some of them are taxes, but other ones are not. And it's insane. It's a broken system is all we got to say about that.
Pretty much. So I've said enough. I've said enough that I need to say on that.
Right.
My point is it just needs to be an overhaul with the rules. So
let's look at the staffing carousel, as it were, because that is technically over. It's kind of open-ended over, kind of, but we know who's getting the rest of these jobs. So head coaching vacancies are basically filled. 9 for 9. The only one that's up in the air is the Minnesota job because Kevin O'Connell is the offensive coordinator for the Rams. He's still coaching in the Super Bowl, so technically he has not taken his new role yet, but they've stopped interviewing people, so that means that they have already offered the job to him, and he is basically accepted it. He's just going to finish the season and then accept it. So that's the situation in Minnesota. It's an unofficial hire, but they're expected to bring in Kevin O'Connell. Since last we talked on the show, 3 other hires have happened: New Orleans, Miami, and Houston. New Orleans promoted Dennis Allen.
OC?
DC.
DC.
I don't care. New Orleans is about to go in a full-fledged rebuild, is what it looks like to me.
Okay, congratulations. Move on.
Yeah. Miami hires San Francisco offensive coordinator Mike McDaniels as the next head coach. Technically, this is the 4th black hire, even though this dude is... you want to talk about one drop rule.
You've seen the report.
Yeah.
So go ahead. I'm having a real problem.
In Houston hires former NFL head coach Lovie Smith, beloved Lovie Smith for me here, as he was, again, egregiously fired after a 10-6 season. So that's neither here nor there.
What happened when you go to the Super Bowl and can't get back?
Yeah, but Lovie Smith is the new head coach, and to me, that one also is basically a sham, because that looks like an interim hire to me if I've ever seen one in my life. Because they were hell-bent on hiring Josh McCown as their head coach going into last weekend. And then the Brian Flores situation blows up over the last 2 days, Thursday and Friday last week. And then they were like, oh, crap. Well, what? They basically looked around in their offices and were like, what do we do now? They had contract offer sheet in hand to hand over to the NFL saying that we're hiring Josh McCown. Basically, they literally just needed to send the paperwork in, and out of nowhere, Lovie Smith is now being hired because the report came out last Friday that he was starting to talk to the organization about being the head coach, and then literally 48 hours later he was hired. It was like, this dude was like super late in the running here apparently, and he just really wowed you guys to get you over the hump after the only thing you were talking about for a week and a half was Josh McCown.
Right.
So talk about a smokescreen to me. I really don't see how that one's gonna work out. But I do like Lovie Smith, but it's just like, okay, at a loss for words. Some other coaching news. Rich Bisaccia was hired as Green Bay's special teams coordinator, so he still found himself a job, and he's found himself a job in a pretty good situation if Aaron Rodgers stays, which we are definitely hoping is not the case. New England hires Joe Judge. They bring him back as an assistant. So
I guess if there was ever a place to bring him in, if nothing else, this should help him as a person.
Yeah, it'll help him, but it's just like, okay, New England, you're just you know, that's Bill Belichick just helping out his guy. Because I mean, he didn't even get his old job back. They basically were just like, yeah, we're just gonna make you an assistant.
We're just making stuff up.
Yeah,
we go. Just show up on Monday.
We'll the Giants added Wink Martindale to their crew as the defensive coordinator there. He stepped away from Baltimore and now is over in New York. I actually think that's a really good hire for New York. I was surprised when Baltimore let him go, but I kind of saw why. They were trying to find some sort of a scapegoat for their failure of a season. So that was that. And then lastly, Detroit promoted their former tight end coach, Ben Johnson, to offensive coordinator. So he is going to take on that role. But that does it for staff hirings. There's other lesser staff hirings. Mm-hmm. At this point, head coaches are filled. Coaching staffs are going to be filled out. I'm probably not going to talk about this until we get closer to next season, as to what important moves were made for coaching hires and whatnot. So, yeah, I think the only two big hires outside of the head coaches obviously were Bisaccia and Martindale. Those are Bisaccia will definitely be able to fix whatever the hell is going on in Green Bay. I think that might have been Mason Crosby's last year in Green Bay. But Bisaccia is going to come in there and he's going to fix their woes because they have been horrible for 3 straight years now on special teams.
Yeah.
And then Wink Martindale, like I said, I think he's a good defensive coordinator, and that was New York is starting to make the right decisions. The Giants, not the Jets. The Giants are starting to make the right decisions when it comes to who they're picking as their higher ups. I mean, I like Brian Daboll, great offensive mind. Wink Martindale, great defensive mind. Put those together. Fine.
That is what the Giants have been since 1990. You know, they have just been a team that has been very good, average, very bad, disappear, very good again. You know, it's very weird. They just have these pockets of time, and
the only thing is they're stuck with Daniel Jones. So, like that,
I'm gonna say for one more year because they're gonna have this whole regime. They're gonna bring him back one more time, and then he's gonna do what he always does, not enough. And then they're gonna finally move on because then they're gonna be in a position where there's a good rookie draft class now, and they're probably gonna have.
I don't know if there is gonna be one next year.
Next year, they don't have one this year. I'm just saying.
The draft this year sucks for quarterback. Wide receiver wise, it's actually
all I'm
deep.
saying. It just works in their favor because it is not one of those like, well, we need it now type of thing, and especially when they're still on the fence with Daniel Jones, and they probably wouldn't even
put on the fence with Daniel Jones for 3 years
because they missed the window. And I understand because
you mean they missed the window? They chose him. They went to 6 and grabbed him.
who else was there? Who got selected over him? And it was like, because I was saying it was during a draft class that didn't matter. You know, it was just, I'm saying they needed a quarterback in a weak draft class. It was just, unfortunately, I've seen that in Chicago a couple times in the past, but it's just one of those things. It was like, damn, why do we have to suck now?
Yeah, but my other thing is that why trade for somebody? Like, there's going to be go into free agency, but you, Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll have come out and said, yeah, Daniel Jones is our guy. You have guys that are going to be on our Jimmy G is going to be on the market. Why do you not go get him?
Hey, they had a chance to get Justin Fields. They wanted Kadarius Toney. So, hey, tell me what you – hey, this wasn't their year. That's all I was saying. They obviously did not want a quarterback.
Oh, no. Kadarius Toney. That name is going to go down in infamy.
I mean, he had 2 very decent games.
2 very decent plays.
That's all I want to say. 2.
Last thing I want to talk about, NFL Honors was last night. So I just wanted to go back and look at
I like how you stopped me, because I was, I'm feeling this is complete bullshit. Go ahead. Say whatever you're gonna say.
I just wanted to go back to our midseason awards. We actually did fairly good. I think the only one where we didn't pick the right guy, at least one of us, was on the MVP, which I still think is completely wrong. Which I think you would have gotten it right. Let's get to it. MVP went to Aaron Rodgers last night. That was his 4th time winning MVP.
What is this criteria for MVP? I just want to know.
There is none. It's BS, because if you want to go by stats, Tom Brady should have won it. If you want to go by efficiency, Matt Stafford should have won it. I don't know what other metric you want to use. Like, what if you want to go by wins? I guess they were 13-4.
It ain't just from the freaking offense. I mean,
Dak Prescott was good. He was 13-4.
I mean, for that matter, why Joe Burrow ain't the MVP?
10-7. He won games. Like,
Mac Jones. I mean, he tore it up for
Jared Goff beat you. He should have won it. I don't like Aaron Rodgers. Yes, top 5 in MVP voting. He should have been.
Consolation to his debacled season that they just look here. This should help you in your negotiations in the offseason.
There is no negotiation.
Bullshit,
he has to be traded.
I'm just in his negotiations to get traded. I hope he leaves. I want to see him so gone out of the NFC North. I'm done with the whole Aaron Rodgers saga.
It's done. Not even if I take my Bears fandom out of it. If I can just be completely
the same Bears fandom.
No, that's what I'm saying.
NFL
if
fandom.
I'm unbiased, I do not want to see Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay because it doesn't work. It hasn't worked. I don't know what else we have to see for this organization for the last 30 years has had a Hall of Fame quarterback manning that position.
Yeah,
and they've got they got 2 Super Bowls to show for it.
Yep.
What else are we talking? That is an organizational failure if I've ever seen it. And they just straight up, they went and got a guy in one of the deepest wide receiver drafts that we've ever seen. They traded up for Jordan Love, who still, to this day, has not shown anything worth promising as to being able to man the Green Bay Packers. Whether it's in practice, on the field, they don't believe in him.
At best, I would have to describe him as the poor man's Jalen Hurts. The poor man's.
All right. Other awards.
Exactly. I mean, I don't think there's a good analogy to bring up for him. That's my point of what I was getting at. Like, I guess I was from a business context. Like, okay, if you want to get any return on it, trade Aaron Rodgers, get a bag for him, and then play this dude, because you have wasted so much money in revenue just keeping this dude on the roster. Like, you either use him or lose him.
He's about to make $45 million, plus they're going to have to franchise tag Devontae Adams. Like, they can't, like, I understand that, yes, obviously you can do cap gymnastics to try to figure it out, but if you want to keep him, you guys are in salary cap hell.
I was going to say, we are where we as fans now have been waiting to get to. The obvious choice is you have to bust this up. You can't keep, let's just try to see and run it back.
And when
Y'all
we keep
been
saying,
doing that for
we keep saying bust
seasons.
it up, it's not actually that deep of a team.
Not really. When I mean bust up the players that matter.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, Aaron Jones, you can stay.
Well, he has to. He's a 5-year contract.
AJ Dillon, you can stay. But Adams and Rodgers and any other free agent that y'all got over there on either side of the ball, you might as well just start cutting.
They have
to start over.
They're $30 million over the cap as it stands right now. Obviously, when they trade away, or if they trade away Aaron Rodgers, that's going to open up. I think he still will carry a dead cap hit of like $10 million or something like that for them. So they still are going to be in salary cap hell, but it's just a situation. They're done.
And the narrative continues to go on. Now is going on even with this Aaron Rodgers thing in the last few days. With this whole, just putting it out there, he's in the best situation he can possibly be in, and I can only see the best thing for him is to stay where he's at. He has done that all of his damn career. What's going to put him over the hump outside of some type of overnight Tampa Bay overhaul type thing where all of a sudden,
but Tampa Bay wasn't an overhaul. It was we have done the unthinkable in keeping everybody who's already won games. They would have to bring more guys in.
You missed it. You didn't understand me. The year before when they put it all together when he first came over. That's all. I'm speaking for the first year, not let's bring it all back and let's run it back. My point of that is that's still relevant because that's all Green Bay has done for the last 5 years, 6 seasons.
But that's Tom Brady taking.
That's what I'm saying versus what Tom Brady has done in 2. It's been the same damn thing. I'm like, but it's been over 6 seasons plus. You all have to do something else. That is just NFL 101 at this point. And now, like you saying, y'all on a salary cap hell. Okay, we're gonna do more addition by subtraction and then still keep these 1 and 2, 3 pieces on the team, and we're just gonna run it back in some kind of way. We're gonna find a way to win 13 games.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, as an NFL fan, I'm done. I've seen enough of this broken story. Nobody wants to keep seeing it. Let me be very clear. That 4-year stretch with Buffalo, from 90 to 93, just 4 years, 4 AFC championships, and 4 Super Bowl losses. Exciting in itself, but it was a novelty only at the end of the year. Not so much as you watching Buffalo, like, let's see if they can get back to the year. No one was doing that, from year to year. It was more so they just kept defying the odds. But my point was, you got to do something else. Buffalo did not come back a 5th year and say, you know what, let's run it back one more time and see. And then they came up short. That didn't happen. They bust that team up.
All right.
I know you don't want to hear no more of that. But my point being is Green Bay needs to move on. Yeah. So, and yeah,
it should be over. I don't think Aaron Rodgers should have won the award. Tom Brady, I think, who your pick was Tom Brady at the midseason point. Mm-hmm. He should have won that award. Matthew Stafford, I still feel was the best quarterback overall in the NFC, because I guess this is an NFC award. But overall, I thought it was Matthew Stafford. But with his end of the season where he threw 8 picks. Again, I believe not his fault, but regardless, he did throw them. They are on his stat sheet, and he ended up 41 and 14 or something like that.
Putting all that out, man. I'm like, I think Patrick Mahomes should have been MVP based on these criteria.
But I mean, if we're going off of stats, Tom Brady was through the midseason point all the way through the end of the year. Tom Brady was insane in his 44th. Year of life and his 22nd year of playing football. He was playing insane.
Now, I'm not giving you a reward because of your age. You got to be
but he was the best quarterback. Statistically, he was the best quarterback. So that's where that is.
He didn't have murderer's row.
Let's go to offensive player of the year.
He didn't have that murderer's row.
That was won by who you picked, Cooper Kupp. I ended up picking Kyler Murray midseason. Literally, he gets hurt the very next week, and we never hear of him in the MVP talks ever again, or offensive player of the year. Defensive player of the year, TJ Watt. I picked TJ Watt. You try to go out on a limb and pick up Trayvon Diggs for that one. But Trayvon Diggs, I mean, he still ended up at the end of the season in the running there. But
all I'm saying is, as an individual, and I think they got it right. It was a very individualistic award. Trayvon Diggs helped, along with the coaching staff and schemes and everything, help transform the defense as well as his stats.
Yeah.
And translate them to a playoff bound, was supposed to be a Super Bowl bound contending team. TJ Watt, great all by himself, whether the other 11 guys showed up or not, he was gonna do his job. And that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But that it's just like, but damn, it was just him and nothing. I mean, it was him
get
and
that,
then there
but
was Najee Harris on the other side.
Here's the difference. TJ Watt was impactful, and he outside of Kansas City, he was holding teams under 30 points by himself. But Trayvon Diggs was so boom or bust. That was my issue with him. It was, I'm either getting a pick, or I'm returning this thing to the house, or it's going to the end zone for you guys. I'm going to give up the 40-yard play. And it's like, dude, can you play in between at all? See, can you get any deflections?
And that's why these are flawed awards, because how does a cornerback ever get you know what I'm saying? How would they ever? They would have to get an interception every single game. Never been done. You know what I'm saying? Things that have never happened before would have to happen for this person to
I feel like if he did what he did do this season without giving up so many big 40, 20, 25, 40-yard, 50-yard plays, then it would be different. It would have been at least a conversation in my eyes between the two, TJ Watt and Trayvon Diggs. Whereas this, to me, was without question TJ Watt's award all season long, because TJ Watt was consistently not giving up. When he was on the field, this dude was killing things. Like he was doing everything.
We're talking about DBs versus defensive linemen. They don't even do the same damn thing outside of tackle. But I get it. That's what I'm saying. It's flawed to me, because this guy's function. What would qualify MVP stature for a defensive back as opposed to what for a defensive lineman? I think the lineman has a much easier path to winning that award as than a defensive back. It's
probably, but that's fine. But I'm talking about if you're looking at this season head to head, Trayvon Diggs versus TJ Watt. TJ Watt was better because he was not also giving, like, it wasn't Trayvon Diggs again, boom or bust. It was a touchdown going against us, or it was a touchdown that I was getting for us. And it was like, can you play in between at all this season? Can you stop a wide receiver from just catching it? You don't have to pick it off.
Right.
You just be in front of him and contest the catch. And you could not do that. It was either you were coming screaming down, getting a pick and taking it to the house, or it was and by the way, was insane with the tackles. He was actually really high up there, but it was also they were picking on Trayvon Diggs basically. They defenses were like, well, yeah, I might throw the pick, and that's perfectly fine. But offenses were like, we might throw the pick, but that's fine, because he's also going to, the very next drive, give up a 40-yard play, and we'll be right down back there ready to score.
Right.
So, whereas you're looking at TJ Watt, it's just like, oh God, it's just a nightmare. It's like, okay, our game plan has to completely divert away from this dude, because he is going to absolutely wreck our offensive line, no matter how good it is, no matter how bad it is. We will not have time to go down the field, because he will be in our quarterback's face all night long. Right. And he ended up tying the record for sacks. So I just think TJ Watt has been a much more consistent defensive player and put up the stats to back it up to get the award.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the rookies. Offensive Rookie of the Year went to Jamar Chase. Rightfully so. Don't have any problems with it. I just have a problem with Mac Jones last month of the season. What the hell happened to you, dude? You got this right. You picked Jamar Chase. I ended up picking Mac Jones, and it looked like it was going to be an actual really close race until the final 4 games of the year. Mac Jones just disappeared. It was just like, this dude did not finish the season whatsoever, and then gets absolutely trounced in the playoffs by Buffalo. It's just like, wow. I was shocked. I was like, dude, come on.
Yeah, I bet you was when you weren't wearing with that horse, but I get it was gonna be one or the other.
Yeah,
but it's just
I'm happy it was Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase, it has nothing to do with you. It's just Mac Jones. I'm like, what the hell, dude? I don't even remember
what I said behind that. Like, I'm guessing
you actually were the one. I went back and listened to it. You were the one who went out on a limb and went with Jamar Chase, because we did think at the time it was so close between the two, right, they were just gonna give it to the quarterback.
Okay, I kind of remember that.
But you were like, no, I think that they'll do the right thing. They'll go ahead and they'll get it to the dude that's been putting up the bigger season, which technically he had been all season long. I just was like, it was impressive what Mac Jones did up until end of December, basically.
Right.
I think it was basically after their game versus Buffalo the first time, where they literally couldn't throw the ball.
Mm-hmm.
After that game, he never looked the same ever again. So, I mean, except for Jacksonville, but everybody looks great versus Jacksonville, unless you're the Colts. Defensive Rookie of the Year went to Dallas linebacker Micah Parsons. You got this one right again. I went with Jason Owe.
You did.
At the time, they were healthy.
Daring to be different. I get
it. We both got the comeback player of the year correct in Joe Burrow. Joe Shiesty went out there, did his thing, and kept doing it. And I got head coach of the year right with Mike Vrabel. You went with Cliff Kingsbury midway through the season. Rightfully so, but it just did not come to fruition.
Talk about crashing and burning.
So those were the awards that were handed out last night. Walter Payton Man of the Year ended up going to Andrew Whitworth.
And because of this MVP thing, I do need to state this. The snubbing of the year. Where the hell is Jonathan Taylor in this? Because I'm going to be the first to say, when I seen Cooper Kupp, I'm like, okay, there's Kupp, and there's this guy, there's that guy. Where the hell is Jonathan Taylor in all of this?
I don't know where you would have given him an award if it wasn't the MVP.
Why shouldn't he be the MVP? If not the offensive player of the year?
Because to me, if it wasn't Aaron Rodgers, it was going to go to Tom Brady.
See, that's what I'm saying.
And we talked about that on the show.
I don't want to go into it again. This is just what I'm talking about. Like, what does it take for a freaking running back to win the MVP? To win any award for that matter, it's just like this doesn't even stop at this doesn't stop at Jonathan Taylor. I mean, this rookie awards. I'm still thinking about the whole Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott thing. Like, Ezekiel Elliott didn't get it. Yeah. Dak Prescott got it. Dak Prescott got it because of Ezekiel Elliott. Let's be really clear. It's just, what does it take for a defensive back and a running back to win any award? It is just, you can't. These awards are flawed. Like, if you put
I do think that they need to
never be considered.
They need to give positions their own award.
Thank you. That's what it needs to come down
best
to.
QB.
NFL is just different.
Yeah.
You can't just across the board. It doesn't matter your position. You all play the same type of.
No.
Not really.
Best pass rusher, best linebacker, best interior lineman. Go best DB. Go. Obviously, best quarterback, best.
I'm gonna do you one better. And I ain't gonna sound tedious. What you're saying, I'm gonna do you one better, and it needs to be divided by conference. These records are too different. I understand they got some out of conference games, but it's so selective from year to year. Just your schedule strength of schedule. It changes how a person performs or whatever, as opposed to. Oh, you had a cupcake schedule this year. I can see how you got 2,000 yards. And I only had 1,200. Well, you had a murderer's roast. 12. The first 12 games were horrible. And then we had an easy last month. I'm just saying. That's me. I would take it a step further and just all those awards by position per conference and leave it at that.
It might be a little bit too much, but I see where you're coming.
That's what I'm saying. I'm changing the structure. Yeah. There's no. We have an MVP of the league. No, we have an MVP of a conference because look what it takes to get to the Super Bowl. You have to go through that damn conference. Like you meet the other opponent one time. Well, we had 4 random ass games against somebody that's not even in the playoff picture, or have been in. It's like I think it would go a longer way. It would mean a little bit more. Is it tedious? It's the freaking NFL. The hell, y'all got like 1,000 positions. I'm like. Why can't a kicker win? They the leading scorers of the leagues, yet they're never in any MVP, offensive player, comeback player. None of that.
Evan Shooter McPherson,
clutch
over
player
there.
of the year. None of it. They have none of these awards. It just.
I see what you're saying.
That's all I was getting at. I ain't making no big super strong point, but I have an issue with this whole Jonathan Taylor not even being nowhere in any of this. Like, well, he's not a rookie. And, well, we already got an offensive player of the game in Cooper Kupp, and
I mean Cooper Kupp rightfully deserved it. He was a triple crown winner.
Let me finish my statement, and it makes sense. And for MVPs, we only consider quarterbacks. So there's just no spot for you. That's bullshit. I'm like, and that dude, did you see what type of year he had?
Yeah.
And again, that's all I'm saying. The biggest snubbing of the year is right there, Jonathan Taylor.
So what would you have done? Put Cooper Kupp MVP or Jonathan Taylor MVP and leave the Offensive Player of the Year to?
I would have flipped the coin for them too, and whoever didn't win the coin flip gets the Offensive Player of the Year. I'll leave it at that. I think they equally did. You could take either one and you would be right.
I think I would put Cooper Kupp MVP just because the Triple Crown is just that's insane. That's hard to do. I mean, obviously, what Jonathan Taylor did, rightfully so, hard to do. But I think as a wide receiver, especially with him being the number one and then Robert Woods going down, it was just like, okay, it's solely Cooper Kupp, and then they literally still couldn't stop it. And he got the Triple Crown award.
Man, Robert Woods went down right when they got OBJ. So he
no,
ain't never
OBJ, it was about 3 weeks.
No. As soon as they signed him, that's when they was about to. Robert Woods went to the next practice and got hurt. It was almost the very next day. They never played on the field at the same time. But they was about to. It was only the very first practice. That's when he got hurt. Go back and look at it.
Because I think it was with the Von Miller signing is when he got injured. I could have sworn, because I do remember that because I feel like back when that happened, it was the Von Miller couple of weeks where he was trying to figure stuff out. Robert Woods went down, and then that was the whole reason why they even traded for him in the first place in OBJ.